because people are dying to get somewhere furnished. Because if they've been living in a short-term rental and they want to go a bit more permanent, then my place is sort of the next step. And even kids moving out of home, people, and kids moving out later, so they're not kids.
Yeah.
So there's been huge demand for furnished properties, and we don't have long vacancies at all. Really good.
You're listening to Property Investor Tales, stories from the front yard.
Hello and welcome to Property Investor Tales, stories from the front yard, where I get to speak to property investors from around Australia about their investing journey. My name's Tabitha Bright and I'm the head of advising here at Positive Real Estate, where we help people build wealth through property. With over 10,000 clients across Australia and New Zealand, there are some incredible stories to tell, which hopefully make your investing journey that little bit easier and will inspire you along the way. So today I'm interviewing Megan Wolfenden, one of our senior coaches and advisors here at Positive Real Estate, for an update on the strategy of Airbnb for cash flow, what she's found works and doesn't work, and whether Airbnb could be right for you. So enjoy this conversation with Megan. Bye for now. Hey everybody, and welcome to our podcast today, Property Investor Tales, stories from the front yard. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, but I got it out today. My name's Tabitha Bright. I'm head of coaching here at Positive Real Estate, and I've got one of our fantastic senior coaches along with me, Megan Wolfenden. Welcome, Megan.
Hello, Tab. I love this topic. I've got lots to say on it.
Well, you're just the right person because, folks, I'll do a little bit of the preamble before I get stuck into it with Megan. So basically, we're going to talk about a bit of an update on Airbnb and how that's working for us as investors. And there will be people out there that are really happy with how Airbnb is working for them. And many of the recent changes haven't changed stuff much for them in that it's still worthwhile. I bought a property recently, one that I am renovating, and I was planning to Airbnb it because it's in a location where it's very close to a hospital. It's very close to where the Grand Prix is in Melbourne. It's close to Pram Market. It's close to a whole lot of amenities, public transport, the city, the beach, all of that stuff. So perfect in my mind for Airbnb. And when I started doing a little bit of research around Airbnb and what my return would be, and the changes with taxes, with government rules and all of that kind of stuff, I started rethinking my strategy because there have been some changes from when we last did a podcast interview on Airbnb. And Megan, you've been a big proponent of Airbnb. You've Airbnb'd a lot of properties. I haven't ever Airbnb'd anything. I had a property before Airbnb when it was stays and take a break, and a property down the coast I used to holiday let, but it's changed massively since then. Even, the super hosts and all of that kind of stuff, and having your property managed by the right person. So I'm going to hand over to you, because take us through, I guess, a bit of your journey with the Airbnb, where you are now, where you started, what worked, what didn't, and all of that stuff.
Awesome.
To you.
Thanks, Tab. Yeah, so really, we got into Airbnb in a big way at about 2017.
Yep.
And I was a big traveler and will travel and stay at a lot of Airbnbs. And Tab, if you do have an Airbnb at Formula One time, I will come and join you there, because we always get Airbnbs for Formula One down there in Melbourne. But like you said, a lot has changed, and we've got a lot of regulations, a lot of potential changes that could happen. And so if we start at the state level and what's going on by state, we know that in Melbourne, they're going to be charging about a 7% fee on your revenue. Now,
Right.
We haven't seen that practically in someone's tax return yet, but that's going to have an impact on people's current returns and how they're going to achieve the revenue that they've been getting in the past. The idea is that people are saying so many people will drop out of Airbnb that those that are left will be able to add that 7% fee on anyway. So arguably not a problem. It actually turns out if you look overseas, there are certain countries overseas like Barcelona where they don't even allow Airbnb in the main city because there's in the heart of the city because there's just not enough accommodation for the workers, and it was putting the residents in a terrible situation as far as being able to afford rent. So it's possible for a state government or for a city to say no Airbnb. And people might say, oh, well, how could they know? I can tell you that the government's data analysis and data collection now, they know everything. In fact, when we do our tax returns now, that's just to check that you're telling the truth because they already know.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of just trying to Airbnb and see how you go. It's not going to work that way. So from a state level, things can change significantly and they can change very quickly. Then at a council level, for example, Gold Coast Council doesn't officially allow Airbnbs, but you can apply to have an Airbnb. Full application process costs $10,000, whether you win or lose. Whether they say yes or no, you've had to pay $10,000 for that process.
And you went through that, didn't you?
I started to. I got a planner a town planner in to help me with the application. And we did a pre-application with the council. And they basically said, even though I wanted short-term rental for a good reason, that's because I was going to knock down my house and need somewhere to live, but I didn't know when the knockdown would happen. So couldn't put a 12-month lease in. I said I wanted to have the townhouse to live in. And so I just want to do a short-term rental in the interim. And they said, too bad.
Really?
And then as if you're an individual and you don't do what you're told, then you get a cease and desist letter and then a $7,500 fine.
Ooh.
Or as a company, a cease and desist letter and a $14,000 fine.
Ouch.
Now, the council will also put your rates up double. They'll double the rates.
In the Gold Coast?
In the Gold Coast with a new code, yes. So your land rates will go up significantly. And they know because it only takes one person having a party or doing something that upsets the body corporate, and people in the complex will then tell the council. And, I know of clients where their rates just instantly went up and they're like, hey, what just happened here? And for that client, they actually had gone from a couple of short-term rentals to 3-month rentals, and 3-month qualifies as that's okay with the government, with the council. And so they were able to prove that they had these 3-month leases, and then they got a refund on their council rates. But it definitely happened. So the Gold Coast Council doesn't like Airbnb.
Okay.
Where a building was made with that intention and they have on-site management, or there's been the occasional townhouse complexes that have on-site management and that's been grandfathered in. So there are some exceptions in the Gold Coast Council, but the council can change their mind at any time. Brisbane Council does add another $500 to your rate, and it can be quite difficult to find out exactly what the rules are, and you have to call the council and ask them as well. And then you've got the body corporates. And for example, I've got a body corporate in Melbourne, and it was started with the intention that you could do short-term rental. The moment we started, however, they locked off the fob. We had to get a special fob for our short-termers, and they weren't allowed to use the rooftop amenities, and they weren't allowed to use the mailbox amenities or anything like that, or locked up bikes or things like that. So the body corporate can make sort of specific rules for you, and then if you get 1 or 2 complaints, they can cancel. They can say no more, and
they can lock you out of doing Airbnb in a building.
Yeah. So what is because occasionally an agency will get the background check wrong. So I had family go in. Well, it was supposed to be a family because the mum paid for it, and then the 20-something-year-old son went in and had a big party and
Ouch.
caused a lot of complaints, and council got notified of that and all sorts of things. So
Yeah, because you've got schoolies and stuff on the Gold Coast, don't you? Yeah.
yeah, so you can really try and do all your background checks on the people coming in, but it doesn't always work.
Mm. And the
Um,
wear and tear is a lot greater, isn't it, with Airbnb? Like you found that it was almost not conducive.
Correct. What we've done is we've
Mm.
moved 5 short-term rentals to long-term furnished.
Uh,
So I could turn off Netflix. I'm not paying for power. I don't pay for excess water. All the things that a short-termer doesn't care about, a long-termer does care about. And they know they've had a move-in inspection and all of your furniture looks a certain way. And then when the move-out inspection happens and inspections along the way, they have to have it presented back to you properly. Otherwise, they have to pay for the repair or maintenance. So I do find that the 12-month renters
oh,
look
yeah,
after
12
everything
months.
much, much better.
Right. So you do a 12-month furnished lease and you're
Right,
still getting a premium.
correct. Yeah.
Mm,
So what I've done is moved everything to our regular property managers. Most of them are with R&W,
yeah.
and they put them on the regular for rent, but it just has furnished in there, and then they charge 100 or more depending on how big the property is, extra a week in rent.
Mm. And do you
And
find, I mean, obviously there'd be some rules around that in order for it to work. So but I assume, I'm just thinking this through as we talk. I'm assumed that if it's going to be an Airbnb, it's going to be in a place where there is demand for furnished because there's not always demand for furnished rental, right?
correct.
So yeah.
There's
And
hardly any available though.
oh,
And I find that I get a lot of travelers, I get people who've come out of a relationship.
oh yeah.
I've got, yeah, mostly travelers, but
Mm,
there
mm,
are a lot of them. If you think of how many people are coming into Melbourne from
mm.
overseas, where do they land? And I've got huge demand for furnished properties. And
Right.
we've had like pilots who aren't home very often, and so they haven't really built up a home of furniture, but they want a base. Lots of scenarios where people want a furnished property, and they're the turnaround is less than a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's
And
awesome. Less than a
so,
week.
yeah, less than a week because people are dying to get somewhere furnished. Because if they've been living in a short-term rental and they want to go a bit more permanent, then
Oh,
my place is sort of the next step. And
interesting.
yeah, even kids moving out of home,
Yeah.
people and kids moving out later, so they're not
Mm,
kids.
yeah.
So there's been huge demand for
Yeah.
furnished properties, and we don't have long vacancies at all. Really good.
Great. And a better people that look after your property better.
Yeah, some of them could have just got a transfer with work,
Yeah.
and they put their own stuff in storage and didn't want to move it all. But everybody treats it like their home,
Huh.
and so I find that the everything's been very, very well looked after. Now, having said that, everything's, the maximum age is what, 2017, so 8 years old. So I haven't got to that time where I've had to start turning anything over yet.
Got it.
I think that'll be a little bit of a pain if I need to replace something, where does it, I'll have to use a company that picks up the old and replaces with the new or something so that it's
Yeah.
seamless. Otherwise, I've got to give away furniture or something somehow, remotely. So we'll see. I don't know. To work
Okay.
on that when the time comes.
Yeah. Because how often do you think you'll need to change the furniture? Like every 10 years? Because you bought good quality furniture, didn't you?
Really good quality, like, king furniture and yeah, beautiful furniture.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Some of I do get stuff like king that can be just replace the covers or something. So
Oh,
structurally,
yes.
it'll last a long time.
Yeah.
At this point, nothing needs replacing. The beds are all great. We've got very thick sort of uh, protectors on everything, and So at this stage, everything's looking great.
Hmm.
That'll be the next podcast.
And can I ask, with furnishing the properties for a long-term furnished rental, are you still having to go into the absolute detail? I mean, given that they've come from Airbnb anyway, so every teaspoon, every, bottle opener, you've got everything, I would imagine, in those furnished. They're not sort of
Correct.
semi-furnished, as in just big items. You've got
No,
everything.
completely. But don't forget, the whole list went to Depreciator way back when. So I just gave that list to R&W and said, here's the checklist. And, if a spatula went missing and a couple of forks, we might not replace those.
Yeah.
It might, we might just let it. I'm sure I'm going to have a four of everything or six of everything, but after that, we're not going to go overboard because people will often bring a lot of their own and leave some extra stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm not
Details
worried about
and
the tiniest little thing.
yeah.
Certainly, people love that the whole place, the toasters and the kettles and everything are all there and they don't have to worry about anything.
Right. So you've done the full McCoy, basically.
Yes.
You've got everything in there.
Yes.
All right.
And no complaints, and no one's saying, oh, the kettle's broken. I think kettles are cheap enough that people will just go get another one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
About $20, I think, aren't they, at Kmart or something?
Yeah,
You probably get
so
them for less.
I certainly don't get messages about that type of thing, which is good.
Right.
And by the way, the fully furnished with Aria, because Aria does fully furnished as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're not allowed on Airbnb with Aria, but we do rent them out fully furnished, and they did come with everything in the kitchen as well.
Huh.
So sorry about my dogs going on. I can't.
No, hey, I can't hear it. My cat was going off before, and I was like, thank goodness for the directional mic, because no one can hear it, I hope.
No, that's good. So the Aria is fully furnished with everything in the kitchens as well, but they're always on a 6 or a 12-month lease as well.
Right. And so for the uninitiated, Aria is a high-end developer that we work with from time to time. And so, they haven't allowed Airbnb in any of their buildings, but they do allow the furnished, which is interesting. And did they furnish it? Did they come with an optional furnished package? Did they?
It did, yeah. At the time in 2020, a 2-bedroom package with everything, including kitchen and all the appliances and washing machine, dryer, was only 25,000, and it was really high end. I don't think you could do that anymore. That was 2020, wow. And with that, they have copies of everything in storage because they do quite a few furnished. So, if a spatula does go, they've got it there and they worry about it and I don't have to think about it. So the agency that you use is really important. And we've been using some great short-term rental agencies in the past, and they had the capacity to, if you felt there was going to be a long vacancy, you could say, can you do a 3 or a 6 month lease in the winter period or what have you? And they would do that.
Right.
Their lease was slightly different. It was accepted by the council as a long-term lease, but it wasn't your regular Queensland or
resi lease.
Victoria, resi lease. And they still charge slightly more for the long term. So they might have a short-term rental, they charge 20% plus GST for management.
Okay.
And they earned it because it was short term.
Of course,
but for the long term, they might charge 11% plus GST. I got it down to 11 or around those prices. But that was a lot more than the 7% plus GST that we can do with R&W, for example.
Yeah.
So I also was able to save money then on the agency and moving it to long-term furnished. That was amazing. And I prefer the resi lease. We know all of the laws for each state, and I prefer to have that lease with my clients. And then, it's easier to go to QCAT or any of
if you have a challenge.
You need them. And I had Terry Shear for everything because they do short-term and long-term. So I just ring them when I changed it to long-term.
Great. And Terry Shear is landlord's insurance, yeah?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, very
Okay,
good.
that's interesting. Do you have any houses that is everything that you let apartment that's furnished, or do you have a house or a townhouse at all?
I've got townhouses and apartments, but
Yep.
no houses for short-term rental. It
Right.
just didn't have the areas. The areas where they're good are like the expensive one you've just bought in Paran, or
Mm,
right in the heart of the Gold Coast and on the water. And it's you're spending a lot of money on beautiful furniture in some of those areas,
yeah.
and you're not renting it out 100% of the time. You're waiting for the right tenant to come along who will spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I just chose not to do any of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one, it was funny. I'd been sitting on some funds that I needed to throw into some property, and I'd been, as you do, I put in a couple of expressions of interest at work and then gone, no, that's not quite what I want. And pulled out again, much to the probably annoyance of everybody involved. I apologize for that. And then one day I was just like, it's on realestate.com. And I looked on a Friday night and I saw this property. I was like, shit, that's a really good area. And I could go back to a renovation, which I've shied away from for a long time. I mean, I've done renovations remotely and locally. um, and I've done cheap renovations, and I've done, the full knockdown rebuild type stuff. And so it wasn't foreign to me, and I still have some trusted sources, but it's not something that I usually have as part of an investment strategy for myself or my clients, unless they're really, really, really keen on it. And so this one's been a little bit of a anomaly in my portfolio, but I just saw it. I was like, shit, it goes to auction tomorrow. Tomorrow. It was a Friday night. And I rang the agent and I said, oh, is there any way you can get me through before the auction? Like, can I pop down tonight? And he was like, well, are you going to buy? And I said, well, I might. I thought, the cheeky bugger. I said, I might. And he was like, all right then. And because he only lived around the corner. So he got me through. And I thought, actually, there is a lot of potential with this one. And it's currently a 2-bed, 1 bathroom, but the property has a lot of length to it. And so I can go out to the boundary and add another bedroom and another bathroom and turn it into a 3-bed, 2 bathroom, which is not ideal, I believe, for Airbnb. I was told by the Airbnb operators I spoke to that they would prefer to keep it as a 2-bed, but have it as a 2-bed, 2-bath. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess. And it's not as an expensive renovation. And then I thought, no, hang on a minute. What's going to actually do me better still long term is spending the money on the renovation. It's only a small difference to put a 3rd bedroom in there. And if I'm putting 2 bathrooms, are the expensive ones, right? So actually I'm better off doing a 3-bedder.
Right.
And the capital growth on that is going to far outweigh $100 extra a week I'm going to get.
Right. And no
Yeah.
headaches after once it's done and put on long term.
Yeah.
At the moment I'm pro long term, but you just don't want to give the government 7% off the top either.
Yeah, well, it's Victoria, so there's the extra land tax.
Yes.
Then there's the extra 7%, plus there's the 20 odd percent, plus you're paying your property manager to manage the Airbnb. Plus, I'm sure there's other costs involved. And it was just beginning to not add up, or the margin just wasn't enough, the profit margin compared to even a standard lease, because of where the property is. It's literally a block. Like, you can go out the rear of the property, and it's got a roller
At the
door,
back.
so you can park on site. And the parking at the Alfred is between $20 to $40 a day. So when you've got a family member, doing a decent stay, and you're either from a maybe fringe Melbourne or interstate, or out into another state, when I've been through that hospital journey with loved ones, it's tough getting in there every day, parking every day, the cost of parking, the cost of the travel for people. It was phenomenal. And I was kind of hoping to even be able to, if I was going to short-term stay, maybe donate a couple of weeks to families that were doing it tough. I just don't know that the Airbnb is going to add up, though. So that was what
Or
I
the
was
medi
really
stays. The medi stays not going to add up. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas a furnished rental, I think, is probably the way.
Well, even
that
turning that into a 3-bedroom just sounds like a great idea for that area. You are going to get the capital growth.
Yeah, I think so. And so, I'm a serial researcher. I'm sure you're the same. And I'm constantly like looking, I was like, okay, so what if I did this? My mum's a serial renovator. In New Zealand, all they do is renovate. She's in her mid to late 70s, my parents, and they're still renovating. Mum's out there painting at the moment, a brand new extension on one of her properties. So, it's in the blood. And I was getting her to draw out different floor plans, because with experience, you get really good at getting the best out of floor plans. And I just wanted to see what she came up with. So lots and lots of research. So for those of you that like renovation, like the idea of it, I do say there's a time and a place for renovation. And when you're in acquisitions phase, you need to get the best quality property that you can afford to get that growth for you. And we do use a lot of strategies that are new property for the reason that you're getting those tax deductions and so forth. Not everyone has time to do a renovation. Not everyone has a trusted team. I'm very fortunate. Right. I've got a trusted team. So it's something that I use sparingly as a starting strategy. When you've got a bit more funds behind you, depending on the size of the renovation, you have the capacity, because renovations can go over time, cost, if they're not well managed. And I do like people to have decent buffers. So when we're in acquisitions phase, we're trying to get the most out of every dollar you have to get that into the market to maximize your growth. Renovation might be something that you do in consolidation phase to push up a value, etc. So what I've done is a little bit outside of the norm for the strategies we have at Positive, but if it suits your particular criteria, then 100% you can do it and do it really well. So yeah, any comments?
Well, I actually have some clients who have done some of that combination. They've built granny flats.
Yep.
And one of my clients is home with a disabled child. So she manages the granny flat as her own Airbnb. So the building of the granny flat added value. It was within the council regulations.
Yeah.
And now she has lots of people coming through that granny flat to stay. It gives her a sort of a part-time job. They're meeting new people. Her child loves to meet new people, and they allow pets. So in her respect, her granny flat / Airbnb has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And that fitted with the lifestyle and gave them some extra cash.
That's
and
right.
Then they were able to buy down the road and do the same thing. And she would take her child with her and do the cleaning and welcome new people and what have you. So
that's really cool.
It was really good for that family, and they're very happy to manage their own Airbnb and not use an agency, and that saves a lot of money as well. So
save an absolute
really good strategy for them, and they loved building that granny flat, so they're wondering how they can do it again.
It's really cool. And also we do have to, even though all of those different costs can be kind of death by paper cuts, can't they? Because they all add up and then suddenly you've got a lump sum. You do still have to look at the numbers, because sometimes it's easy to have that knee-jerk reaction, right? And you go, oh, shit, why would I buy in Vic? Because it's got this new land tax. And the land tax, guys, on a $1.3 million property that I've just purchased is around $900 a year as an additional tax. So, we're not talking bank breaking stuff. And because of the property and what I believe I can get it to do, that $900 is neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned. It's a cost I'm prepared to absorb. Then if I was to say, well, if this property brought me in 50,000 a year, is just some random number I'm pulling out of thin air, then the 7% is around what, 3,500 per annum. So once again, it's not 10 grand, it's not 15 grand, but then you start to add those numbers together, and you've just got to keep an eye on it and then compare it to what are you getting for a furnished stay, what are you getting for even a standard rental that comes devoid of any furniture, and compare those numbers and just be realistic. I remember Jason Witten, the founder of Positive Real Estate, saying to me, it's really important that we see things for what they are, that we see things as they are, because you'll either have a kind of a bent to be optimistic about stuff, which tends to be me. I'm like, oh no, that'd be right. Yeah, no, I'll get at least this for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're such an optimist.
Yeah, but that's okay. I've got a financial planner husband and he's the opposite. So it's okay. We balance.
Exactly. Ben was the same. He was like, mate, your big picture, you're ignoring all of this detail. Or you tend to be on the conservative side. And it's important that both of those are taken into account and you actually see it for what it is. So do an absolute ton of research on this and don't sugarcoat it, but equally don't overweight it negatively, because, you got to back yourself sometimes and give it a bit of a punt. Yeah.
You also have to know your personality. If,
Very good point. Yep.
somebody taking the hand soap with them is going to upset you, and what is it that you can handle, and what fits within
Really
the
good
norm,
point.
and what would really upset you. And some people will get a lot more upset by something, being broken or taken or whatever.
Yeah.
And that might not be the personality for an Airbnb.
That is so true, particularly if it's something like a holiday let that you might actually use yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I tend to be I used to be. I'm not so much now, I must admit. Something's changed in the last 10 years. I used to sort of be like, oh, yeah, it doesn't really matter. They've moved the cushions, they've changed the couch, with the holiday let we had, because we used to use it. But he'd start to get stressed about it before we even arrived. And I'd be like, why are we even doing this? This is supposed to make us happy. We've got this house down the coast where we're supposed to go to relax, and you're getting wound up before we even get there because of what somebody might have done. And I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. My brother had a very, very high-end house that he would put on like $17,000 a week, very high-end.
Wow.
And so he had the Aesop hand soap and all of that, very expensive amenities. And he said they kept getting taken. So he put these beautiful hand soap dispensers on the wall, a nice sort of ones, filled them with the Woolies stuff, turned it up, put the cap on, and nobody's stealing them anymore.
That's gold.
So you've just got to also play with what works in your house as well, or in your
100%.
Airbnb, and you have to do a little bit of experimenting and not expect it to be perfect from the beginning.
Absolutely. And just lastly, any Airbnb stories? Did you have any crazies, or you've been blessed with it all being quite straightforward?
I was very blessed, just one or two parties that got some complaints from body corporate or a neighbour or what have you. But fortunately, I had a relationship with the neighbours and they rang me usually, or the body corporate would call me. There have been some crazy ones, and unfortunately, there are things around the people staying there lighting a lot of candles and doing some damage. One of our co-workers, Tab, she must have had some candles put in front of the television, and the top of the TV looks all melted. And so there are some silly things that happen. Oh, and I do know of people that have put an electric kettle on the stove to heat it up, thinking that it needed to be heated up on and just different.
Yeah.
ways of doing things, and people didn't realize they were doing something wrong, and then didn't necessarily tell the property manager that they'd done something wrong. So
Oops.
it's human nature, and that's what
Yeah.
we work with Airbnb. A bit less so with somebody taking on a 12-month lease, because that's their home.
Yeah.
And you just have to be accepting that things will happen like that,
Yeah.
and have really good insurance, and where
Always.
possible, bonds and things like that. So a good property manager should be able to help you through a lot of those things, but you've just got to be prepared that things happen.
Yeah. People are people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for the update, because it is a strategy that is often touted, and like anything, there's some upside in it when you get it right, and there's some stuff that you have to understand and research before you decide to undertake this stuff. I guess what are the positives with Airbnb? You can depreciate all of the.
The depreciation has been huge. On that, the ARIA property, for example,
Yep.
$32,000 depreciation in the first year because
Wow,
of all
that's
the furniture and a
crazy.
new property.
Yeah.
So depreciation can really help your cash flow. So the
Yep.
higher income bracket that you're in, or the highest tax bracket, higher tax
Yep.
brackets get a much better return on that.
Yep.
If it's a property that one day you want to live in, or you do want to use yourself, then it does give you some flexibility there.
Yep.
And there are some limits. You've got to be careful that you're there to do some maintenance and what have you, or you're declaring that you're using it for a holiday. So having a property to use for yourself,
Mm.
or for travelers who are sort of doing half their time in Australia and half the time somewhere else, it's really good to have an Airbnb style.
Yep.
And you do get some beautiful stories, and people coming and having a lot of fun at your property, when they say, oh, we had a beautiful, happy holiday there. And if you have a booklet that people write in and say, thank you, we've
Oh, that's
loved our
nice.
stay, and we've loved a little bit of chocolate or wine or anything that you left, and things like that. So there's
Nice.
a lot to get out of it. And of course, if you're getting the right cash flow, it can be really helpful paying down your debt and getting to a debt-free property.
Awesome. Oh, sounds good. Well, folks, do your research. And if you've got any questions, make sure, if you're a positive mentoring client, you can jump on Facebook, you can talk to your coach, and reach out if you've got any further questions. If you're not a client of Positive Real Estate, we do have our Facebook page there, and I'm sure if you jump on, ask some questions, people will jump on and help answer. So that's it from us today. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thanks, Tab. Lovely to have a chat.
And happy investing, folks, and we'll see you soon.
Happy
Bye for now.
investing. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to Property Investor Tales. Remember to subscribe so you get notified every time a new episode drops. As you can guess, I love hearing people's property investor tales. So if you'd like to share yours, then please get in touch with me via email at propertyinvestortales@positivementor.com.au. We would also love your feedback, and I would appreciate a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Remember, you can watch all of these podcasts over on YouTube at Positive Mentor or at positivementor.com.au. Until then, take care, happy investing, and bye for now.